Hello, Resurrection. It's March the 20th, Wednesday. It's my weekly talk, and I'm mostly back in the saddle from a pretty rough week last week. Andrew and I both had the flu, and a bunch of you were scolding me for not getting that flu shot this year. Well, I will next year. I'll tell you that. It's not that I'm anti flu vaccine. I just hadn't gotten around to it, and realize now how foolish that was. It knocked me down pretty good, but I am back at it, and looking forward to seeing you all this week. People ask me sometimes if I miss living in Louisiana, and the answer to that is yes and no. I love it in Middle Tennessee, and I think we're here to stay. Right, this is home. My kids, it didn't take them long to consider themselves Tennesseans. They don't consider themselves Louisianans. But there are some things that I do miss about living in Louisiana, and one is LSU baseball. And my apologies to you Vandy fans out there. Vandy baseball games are just not the same, and of course I can't root for Vandy anyway. Y'all have broken my heart too many times with baseball. I miss those LSU baseball games. There are just thousands of people at them. The stands are the huge baseball stadium at LSU. It's just full all the time. They're so much fun, and I miss those a great deal. The other thing that I miss is the food, and it's not just Cajun food. It's all food. All food is delicious in Louisiana, and I miss that. That's probably a good thing. I wish that I disliked Tennessee food, but as you can tell, I'm doing all right on Tennessee food. But I do miss the food and the seafood, especially in Louisiana. Now I'll tell you what I do not miss. I don't miss the so it gets just as hot in Tennessee, but it's not hot for as long. It is hot for a long time in the summer in Louisiana, and it just doesn't last as long in Tennessee, and that's really nice. I think I love the seasons in Tennessee. The other thing I do not miss is I don't miss hurricane season at all. I was so sick of watching the Gulf constantly, week after week, all through hurricane season to see what the next event was going to be that was going to disrupt your life. It might disrupt it for a day or two, but if the storm was big enough, like say Katrina was, we measured the devastation from Katrina in decades, not in days. That was a pretty traumatic thing that I think people in Tennessee don't quite grasp the dramatic nature of that. I mean, we watched society break down around us. It was terrifying. It was awful, and I don't miss that at all. However, when you got a small storm, like a tropical storm, a gentle little storm that was going to have some wind, was going to have a lot of rain, everybody got off of work, everybody got out of school, and you went home. And you didn't go anywhere because it wasn't safe to do that, or you didn't know if it was going to be safe to do that. So everybody sat at home and they spent time together. And eventually the power was going to go out. Now, if it was not too hot, that always turned out to be a lot of fun. Now, if it was hot, living in Louisiana for several days without air conditioning is just awful. But we sat around and we talked to each other. And when night would come, you're sitting there without power. Everybody goes into the living room. Nobody has their phone. The television is not on. You light a candle like in Victorian days, and you sit there and you talk to each other. And before you know it, you are rolling around on the floor laughing at the conversation, what's going on with your kids. You catch up. It was always such a good time. My grandmother claimed that there were two things that were the downfall of Southern society. One was the Leave It to Beaver show, and I'm not making that up, the Leave It to Beaver show, because for the first time, Southerners saw June with a nice car in the driveway, a beautiful home, vacuuming in her pearls, and we were no longer content with our lot in life when we saw what the other guy had. The other thing was she said that air conditioning was the downfall of Southern society because we no longer sat on the porch in the evenings and talked to our families, to our neighbors, and I think she was probably right about that because I can see that come back to life in those long stretches without power. So, if it wasn't too hot, we always got kind of disappointed when the lights came back on because we were having so much fun with them off. And we always said, once a month we'll turn the lights off, turn all the technology off, and we'll sit in the living room and we'll talk to each other. And of course, it never really happens because we're not forced to do that. Everybody is so busy. But this week, the last week before Holy Week begins, we call this week Passion Week, or we used to. And Passion Week, the Friday in Passion Week, is the last directed fast that we have because the next Friday is, of course, Good Friday. We've got a lot of work to do on Good Friday. So this Friday, for our directed fast, I'm going to suggest that you turn the power off. You turn off all your technology. You get everybody into the same room. If you live alone, get in the room with a pet or with a good book, or call a friend on the phone. I know that's technology, but talking on the phone that's minor technology. And have some good old fashioned conversations. Uh, you know, Families will either end up laughing, hysterically, or they'll end up arguing over something, which it's always a coin toss at our house whether we're going to laugh or holler at each other. But get in there and talk to each other. Talk to, if you do something you don't normally do, something that the television or your phone sucks you away from. And we think of the sacrifices that Jesus made as we do without those things, which is, of course, the point, one of the many points of fasting. So this Friday, and if Friday won't work for you, do it Thursday or do it Saturday, or take some day and do without that technology. Do without it completely. Turn all the lights out if you want to do that, and just do something old fashioned. Do something we used to do back before technology was ruling and ruining our lives. Technology certainly did make our lives easier in some ways, but I'm not sure that it's worth it. And I would imagine most of you agree with me about that. Everything's on for tonight. Bible study, youth group, kids groups. Everything is on this week. It's a busy week in the office, and next week will be even busier. We have a lot of work to do next week, and I know that you'll show up for that because you always do. So this Sunday is Palm Sunday, and we will begin outside if the weather allows us to, and we'll bless our palms and we'll process in to commemorate Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and then we will kick off this week. Monday is the renewal of priestly vows at the cathedral with the bishop. We do that every year. All the priests and deacons join the bishop and we renew our vows. We do that every single year, and we'll have lunch and communion together. On Wednesday, we'll have the Stations of the Cross, as we do during Wednesday and Holy Week every year. We will on Maundy Thursday, we'll come together. The service begins pretty normally on Maundy Thursday, and then it takes a turn on us. We will wash feet, and if you're squeamish about getting your feet washed, know that no, not every single person from the congregation comes up. I would say maybe half come up for that. You can sit comfortably in your pew if you want to, but that's an important thing, and it's a little bit of a selfish thing that we priests do, because the foot washing is not about the congregation. The foot washing is about the priest and the deacon who are washing feet at that time, because it is more important for us than for anybody else to remember that we're here to serve our congregation, not to be served. And that's what we do. It's that yearly reminder to the ordained clergy whose servants we are, and that is that I am your servant. Then we will strip the altar and end the evening in darkness, and spend, if you can, an hour in the garden praying with Jesus. The ladies set up a beautiful, call it the altar of repose, a beautiful garden by the columbarium, and we watch with the sacrament that we reserve. We watch all through the night with the candles and the praying. We will have a sheet for sign up for that. Put up in the narthex very soon. Should have done that last week, but I wasn't here. And then on Good Friday, which is always attended very well at 3 o'clock, we will finish up what we've kept of the sacrament. and leave the church empty of that. The tabernacle wide open, no presence of Christ in the sacrament in representation of that beautiful Good Friday service. Then the Easter Vigil at 8 o'clock when it's nice and dark. On Saturday night, we will ring the bells and we'll say the Alleluias. And then, of course, regular service times on Easter morning with all of the bells and whistles and all of the great music. And I'm looking forward to that this year. Today's the first day of spring, the vernal equinox, which always means that it's time for Easter. It's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. That's when we do Easter. So the equinox happens today. The full moon will have to be coming up very, very soon. And Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that of next week. And then we'll gather and we'll sing about the morning that has broken and the Lord Jesus who has risen for us. I'm looking forward to this hard work with you this year. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.